Hello, everybody. I am Eric Smith, and this is F. Paul Wilson's Secret History of the World. And this time we are talking about By the Sword, which is a Repairman Jack novel. Uh, as usual, I'm going to sort of review the novel and then get into the secret history of the world stuff where there may be spoilers. I try to avoid spoilers in the review. And so here we go. I guess it's been a while since I've done one of these, and I apologize for that. So I don't remember exactly how I do them, but let's start with what this book is about. So Repairman Jack, basically, he is hired to find this old, beat up katana or samurai sword, and there are other people looking for it. And there is other stuff. Okay, so he's also still looking for this young girl, Dawn. I think she's 18, 17 or 18 at this point. He's looking for her. That's stuff from the previous book. So that's basically what's going on. You've got Jack looking for Dawn, looking for this sword, other interested parties for both the sword and for Dawn. For the too long didn't watch, I gave this 5 out of 5. I didn't think I was going to, and I will. I think I'll. Well, no, I think I can get into some of the reasons why here. Um, I was thinking 4 stars. I ended up, by the time I got to the end, I was like, yeah, this is definitely 5 stars. It's fantastic. But the reason I was questioning that rating is because at this point, um, this really is not a standalone novel. Now, you could say that about all of them, especially in this series. And I'm now on my phone looking at my list. So this is the 17th video in this series. I believe the first video is an introductory video, so that's 15 books so far that I've read in this series. But you could read, as far as the non-Repairman Jack books, you could read The Keep and just read that book, and that's it. You're done. You could read some of the others, and that's it. You're done. And even if with The Tomb, the first Repairman Jack book, you can read that and call it quits. Once you get to the second book, Legacies, it looks like from here, I still think you could just read that book by itself, but we've already got the threads that are winding through everything. But at this point, there is even a foreword by the author's note, where he says, yes, at this point, it's not individual stories with an overarching theme and, B story running through. It's one story at this point. This book, I don't have actual dates, but it's essentially, it starts right after the end of the previous book, which was Bloodlines. I suppose I could just look in here. Bloodline. Um, so I wasn't sure that I could give it 5 stars because while technically you could read this and enjoy it for the action, the characters, I think you'd have a lot of questions. It's not standalone. But in the end, I enjoyed it so much. I gave it 5 out of 5. Um, as always, it's well written. I mean, F. Paul Wilson is a fantastic writer, and he writes great characters. They are complex, um, and there's action, there's mystery, but there is this overarching story going on. So But recommending it, I absolutely recommend it as a well-written book and part of this huge story. I do not recommend that this be your first F. Paul Wilson book, or even just your second. I do think you need to read the Repairman Jack series in order. I don't. Again, technically, you could pick this up blind and read it, but there's a lot of stuff going on that you're not going to get. But it's fantastic, so I gave it 5 out of 5. All right, so that's the review. I think I've covered the basics. Now we're going to get into the how it ties in to the secret history of the world. I have my trusty copy of Signals here with the timeline in the back. So, this one takes place in May of year 0 minus 1. And so we have, in just 2 months, in April, we have Bloodline, which is the previous Repairman Jack book, followed by The Fifth Harmonic and Panacea. Those both take place in April. And then The God Gene is in May, and now By the Sword is in May. So I'm guessing that Bloodline must be like right at the end of April, and this is right at the beginning of May. Because again, it doesn't seem like there's any time at all between Bloodline and By the Sword. Of course, year 0 minus 1. And this means that we are, well, Night World takes place in May of year 0, so we are 1 year away from the end of the world as we know it. And now, getting into more stuff, spoilery things, because this follows right after Bloodline. Yes, Jack is looking for Dawn, who was she's a major character in this. She was a major character in Bloodline. Jack made a promise to Dawn's mother that he would take care of Dawn, make sure that she was safe, and so he's still trying to fulfill that. He has to find her, though. She disappeared at the end of Bloodline. The Kicker evolution is a big part of this. I believe they were introduced in Bloodline. They have this tattoo on right here on their hand with the Kicker Man symbol. Their leader has dreams. He's might be part. This is all part of the otherness and the adversary and the basic. It's not good and evil. Just these two cosmic powers that have been at war basically forever. One doesn't care one way or the other about us. The other one we would call straight up evil and is going to destroy us. And so because they're an adversary, the one that really doesn't care one way or the other will save us simply to stop their enemy. Basically, that's what's going on. To keep the balance in the universe. This is my 7th video of the night, so I'm getting a little parched. I hope you'll excuse me while I take a drink. So, the Kicker evolution, they are part of this. And then, it's also pulling in the Black Wind. Now, Black Wind is a book. I have it. It's right over there. It's mere feet away from me, but it's not one that I've read so far. When I started this project, I did not have it. I started with The Keep, and Black Wind takes place before that. It is still a World War II, although I think it spans decades. I'm not sure. But apparently that comes into play. They talk about the Black Wind. I believe there are character connections. I don't know if this sword that they're looking for in By the Sword is in Black Wind, because, again, haven't read it. But it certainly makes me want to read it. And I will eventually, when I have finished with the list that I have put out in that introductory video, I believe, has the list of everything. When I have finished all of that, basically come to the end, finished Night World, I will go back and read the books that tie into this, that are part of the secret history of the world, that weren't on that initial list. And now Black Wind kind of is really jumping out at me because of its connection in here. So there's so many things going on being tied into this. There are references to events, plenty of references to events in the Adversary Cycle, which is 4 or 5 books, maybe even 6 at this point, that are part of this secret history of the world. So you've got basically all the previous Repairman Jack books, the Adversary Cycle books, standalone books from the Ice series, which haven't quite tied in yet exactly. We've had a little crossover with things, but I'm not sure how it's going to tie in with everything yet. So, have I covered the important points here? Again, I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but I will say, I have mentioned this before, that I always say that I want to read these books a little more often to keep this series going, to get to the end. I think at this point I absolutely need to do that because of how much this is tied into the previous book. And according to the author's note, that's how, at the very least, the rest of the Repairman Jack books are going to be. They're going to be essentially one giant story, which of course it all is anyway, but now it's even more so. And there are 4 more Repairman Jack up there, and then there's the Christmas one, and Signals, but that says it's an Adversary Cycle. But The Last Christmas, I believe, is listed as a Repairman Jack novel, so I think I'm really going to have to crank it up and maybe make the F. Paul Wilson books either every other book I read or every 3rd book I read. I can't go as long between books, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it's been a while since I've done one of these. I don't remember how the hell I'm doing this. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. 5 out of 5 stars for the review. It's a great story, well written, great characters. It ties into so much. There's so many references to previous events. And I feel, again, it's been long enough that I feel like I'm forgetting some important things, and I'm still trying to avoid spoilers. Why Dawn is important. I don't want to say, although this is really kind of the spoilery section, but I think I can get away without saying what's so important about Dawn and what's going on with her. But as always, we can talk about it down below. So, yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I'm not doing a question for these videos. I don't recall if I've done it in the past. I'm not going to do it now. So, 5 out of 5 stars, By the Sword, F. Paul Wilson, but you can't read it. I mean, again, technically you can. This is America. You can do whatever you want. You should not read this as a standalone. It really is just another chapter at this point in the greater book, the greater story. So, if you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, My Twitter is at Ronin5757. I refuse to call it by its new name. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is Eric Smith 5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. If you happen to be on Blue Sky, I am at EL Smith. And if you aren't familiar with Blue Sky, just look for at elsmith.bsky.social. That's all I have for you. So until next time, read more books.